Chapter 1. The Scholar's Folly. Markarth shimmered beneath a pale reach sunrise, its stone towers glinting like blades of bronze. The city's walls still whispered with the ghosts of Dwemer hammers and steam, echoes of an age when gods were made of metal and will. Within a narrow chamber high in Understone Keep, Talandrin of Winterhold bent over his desk, the scent of hot wax and oil thick around him. Before him lay a relic, an angular fragment of Dwemer metal, its surface etched with lines that pulsed faintly like the veins of a living thing. He had found it through questionable means. A smuggler from the Black Reach routes had sold it to him, muttering about a place where the stone sings beneath the mountain. Most would have dismissed such drunken claims, but Talandren's hunger for Dwemer secrets was deeper than reason. He had studied their tonal architecture, their vanished cities, their disappearance from Mundus itself, yet none had ever found a true answer. Until now, perhaps. As he turned the fragment under candlelight, it resonated with a low, tremulous hum. The sound was not merely heard, it was felt, vibrating in his teeth and bones. On its surface, a pattern of constellations flickered, revealing coordinates unknown to any Dwemer map. He traced them with ink-stained fingers, realizing they led east, deep into the Velothi Mountains. The name inscribed beneath the constellation was faint, almost erased, uncharted, the silent engine. That night, Markarth's forges roared beneath the city, as if answering the relic's tone. The air in his chamber shuddered, and Talandrin knew the Dwemer had not left silence behind. They had left a song. By morning, he had gathered his companions. A Redguard mercenary named Sadri, whose laughter could cut through fear. A Bosmer alchemist, slender and pale, who carried more curiosity than caution, and a porter from Riften, mute and scarred, his eyes full of unspoken memory. They traveled east, through canyons where frost never melted, following the path carved by long-dead pilgrims of brass. The mountains grew cruel as they climbed, winds howled like angry spirits, and avalanches thundered in the distance. On the seventh day they found the gate, a massive arch half buried in glacial stone, its surface blackened by time. Two Dwemer centurions stood before it, their joints seized, their visors dim. The ruin breathed faint warmth, as though something within still lived. Talandrin pressed the fragment against the gate. The metal thrummed with recognition, and the mountain itself groaned. Ancient pistons turned, gears clicked into life, and the great door split open with a roar of escaping steam. A wave of air rolled out, warm and metallic, carrying the scent of oil, dust, and centuries of slumber. They stepped inside, their torches scattering golden light across endless pipes and twisted machinery. The silence felt heavy, deliberate, as though the ruin itself was listening. Somewhere deep below, a rhythmic pulse echoed, a heartbeat of brass and fire. Talandrin's eyes gleamed with fevered awe. "The Dwemer are not gone," he whispered. "They're waiting." Chapter 2. Descent into the Hollow Earth. The doorway of uncharted sealed behind them with a thunderous clang that echoed through the miles of machinery within. The torches flickered and dimmed, swallowed by an amber haze that clung to the air. Even Sadri, who mocked superstition, tightened his grip on his sword. The mountain's breath was hot, metallic, and alive, like standing within the chest of some slumbering titan. Their footsteps rang hollow against the brass-plated floor as they descended a spiral corridor lined with mural panels. Each plate depicted scenes of Dwemer craft and conquest, towers of steam, forges the size of cities, and stars encircled by strange devices. The final panel showed a sun bleeding into a sphere of gears, an image so alien that even Talandrin faltered before it. "The Dwemer dreamed of eternity," he murmured, tracing the inscription with gloved fingers. "And they built it into the bones of the world." Beyond the murals, the air thickened with steam and the groan of ancient conduits. Gouts of warm vapor hissed from vents along the walls, carrying the scent of molten oil. The Bosmer alchemist, Enwin, held up a vial of glowing green fluid to pierce the gloom. Her voice trembled. "This place isn't dead. Something's still feeding it." At her words, the ruin seemed to stir. Deep beneath them, a sound like grinding thunder rolled upward through the floors. followed by the faint chime of metal striking metal in perfect rhythm. The porter flinched. Sadri cursed under his breath. Talandran only smiled. "The tonal engines," he said. "They still sing." They followed the sound through a gallery of shattered automata, centurions, spheres, and spiders, their bodies twisted and cold. Some appeared melted, others crushed as though by a force from within. One construct's core still pulsed faintly, emitting a low, mournful tone that vibrated through their bones. As they pressed deeper, the stone walls gave way to vast caverns where Dwemer bridges arched across endless drops. Below them churned a sea of shadow, broken only by the glow of molten light far beneath. Columns of machinery rose from that abyss, disappearing into the dark above, massive pistons, gears, and chains moving with glacial slowness. Eowyn's hand shook as she clutched her torch. "By Yefre, how long has this been running?" Talandren's eyes gleamed with reflected gold. Since before the disappearance, perhaps it never stopped. Then, as if to answer him, a great hum filled the air, low, resonant, impossible to locate. The floor trembled. A wind rose from the depths, carrying whispers that were not words but notes, perfectly tuned. The mountain itself was singing. The song grew louder as they descended a final stairway into an immense chamber. There, half buried in dust and molten residue, lay the remains of a colossal machine, an engine of brass ribs and obsidian veins, beating like a heart. Around it, countless Dwemer runes pulsed in sequence, alive with impossible power. Sadri stepped forward, awestruck. "It's alive," he breathed. "No," said Talandran, his voice trembling with reverence. "It remembers." And far above, in the darkness beyond their torches, something answered, one long harmonic tone that seemed to echo from the stars themselves. Chapter 3. The Gilded Apparition. The song of the ruin changed. What had been a steady hum now fractured into strange harmonies that shivered through the brass halls, vibrating in the air like 1,000 unseen strings. The deeper they ventured, the more the light itself seemed to bend. Golden motes flickered in the mist, moving with purpose, gathering around them like a quiet audience. They had reached a vast amphitheater of machinery, a place where concentric tiers of gears descended into an unseen abyss. Steam hissed from fissures in the walls, drifting like incense. In the center stood a dais of smooth metal, its surface engraved with swirling tonal runes. Talandran approached, his face illuminated by the warm glow. "This is where they tuned the world," he whispered, "a tonal focus. The Dwemer used sound itself as a key to reality." As his hand brushed the dais, the air split with a sharp metallic note, a tone so pure it felt alive. The brass plates beneath their feet began to tremble. Eowyn screamed as threads of light erupted from the floor, weaving themselves into the shape of a figure. It stood taller than any man, made of shifting brilliance and brass dust, its form fluid, its eyes twin orbs of burning gold. The apparition regarded them in silence. Then it spoke, not in words, but in chords, notes layered upon each other in impossible harmony. The tones struck deep within their skulls, stirring half-forgotten memories of starlight and stone. Talandran fell to his knees, clutching his head, yet smiling with wild ecstasy. "It speaks! By the Nine, it speaks!" The apparition's light pulsed in rhythm with the ruin's heartbeat, its form solidified, revealing a Dwemer visage, perfect, expressionless, serene. Around it, the air shimmered as though reality itself bent to its song. The machines along the walls answered in kind, their gears turning with reverent slowness. Sadri drew his blade. "Stop this, scholar. It's no god, it's a ghost." But Talandran's eyes gleamed with madness. "A ghost of knowledge, don't you see? The Dwemer didn't vanish, they ascended. This is their echo." The apparition extended an arm of light toward him. When its fingers touched his brow, the chamber flashed white. For a heartbeat, the others saw through Talandran's eyes. A vision of cities of brass rising among the stars, of mortals shedding flesh to become living harmonics, of the mundus itself trembling under divine resonance. Then the vision broke. Talandran collapsed, trembling and pale, blood seeping from his ears. The apparition's glow dimmed. fracturing into sparks that scattered through the hall like dying embers. The humming faded, replaced by an unbearable silence. Enwin knelt beside him. "What did it show you?" she whispered. His voice was faint, distant. It remembered the moment of their undoing. They sang too perfectly, and vanished into the song. In the far distance, deep below, another tone answered, low, patient, and alive. The ruin was awakening, and whatever remained of the Dwemer was stirring within its brass heart. Chapter 4. The Machine That Remembers. They found the core chamber by following the echoes of the apparition's fading song. The ruin no longer slept, it breathed. Steam coiled through the air in slow, rhythmic gusts. Gears the size of houses turned with deliberate grace. Every sound, every vibration seemed to pulse in tune with something vast and thinking. The deeper they walked, the more their torches dimmed, until the light came not from flame, but from the metal itself, faintly aglow with buried memory. The stairway descended into an immense vault, where walls rose higher than sight could reach. Suspended at its heart was a structure of terrifying beauty, an orb of interlocking rings and crystalline spindles floating above a pit of molten light. Each rotation emitted a sound, a note, resonant, sorrowful, alive. The air around it rippled as if time itself bent to its rhythm. Talendren approached with trembling awe. "By Magnus," he breathed. "It's a mnemonic engine, a Dwemer memory core. They tried to record consciousness itself." The Bosmer alchemist, her voice raw from fear, stepped back. "Then it's remembering us." At that, the orb shifted. The rings slowed, then reversed, grinding against each other with a groan that set every bone humming. Streams of light arced across the floor, forming geometric sigils that pulsed in unison with the scholar's heartbeats. The air thickened, heavy with the scent of ozone and brass. From the machine came a voice, not sound but vibration, translated through their minds. "You trespass in the dream of the deep ones." Talendren fell to his knees. "I seek only knowledge," he whispered. "I wish to understand what you became." The rings turned again, faster, angry now. "Understanding was our doom," the voice replied. "We sought eternity and harmony, and found silence. Visions bloomed before them, Dwemer cities trembling under radiant light, machines collapsing as souls fled their vessels, the world singing itself apart." A final note, a perfect world-ending tone, rang through the chamber, and the vision fractured. Sadri shouted, drawing steel as the light coalesced into spectral forms. Shapes of half metal, half memory, faces without eyes or mouths. They drifted closer, their bodies flickering like candle flames in a storm. Each movement left trails of tonal resonance in the air, humming with mournful beauty. Enwin screamed as one passed through her. Her voice joined the chorus, her body shimmering before vanishing into a haze of light. The machine had taken her into its recollection. Talendren reached toward the core, tears streaming down his face. "It's not a weapon," he said, voice trembling. "It's a prayer, the last breath of a dying race." The core brightened, its voice breaking with static sorrow. "Remember us," it pleaded. "If we cannot return, let memory be our resurrection." Then came silence. The light faded to darkness, the rings slowed, and the machine's glow dimmed to a dying ember. The ruin exhaled one last sigh of steam, settling into stillness. Sadri stood beside the scholar in the dark. "You got your knowledge, mage," he said bitterly, "and it cost her soul." Talendren did not answer. His eyes were distant, reflecting the faint shimmer that still pulsed beneath the floor, steady, patient, waiting. In the heart of uncharted, the machine that remembers continued its eternal rhythm, dreaming of a people who had sung themselves into godhood. Chapter 5. The Brass Requiem. The ruin no longer hid its voice. The mountain itself trembled as the ancient engines roared to life, shaking loose centuries of dust. Pipes burst with clouds of scalding steam. Molten light ran like blood through channels once dry. The air was filled with music, not melody, but power. Deep, resonant tones that turned the earth into a living instrument. The brass requiem had begun. Talendren stumbled through the corridors, clutching the glowing fragment to his chest. It pulsed in time with the ruin's heartbeat, the same rhythmic cadence that had haunted his dreams since the day he touched it. Behind him, Sadri fought through collapsing debris, his armor slick with oil and soot. Every step echoed with the dying hums of awakening machines. "What have you done, Scholar?" the Red Guard shouted over the din. "I didn't awaken it," Talendren gasped. "I answered it. This place remembers us now. It knows we see it." The halls around them shifted, gears grinding against stone as the architecture reconfigured. Walkways bent and folded, leading them back toward the core chamber. The air shimmered with spectral figures, echoes of Dwemer artisans and kings, their faces luminous and hollow. They worked in silence, hands tracing invisible instruments, forging shapes of sound in the air. Their song filled the ruin, mournful yet divine. In the chamber's center, the mnemonic engine burned brighter than ever, its rings spinning with furious grace. Within its heart shimmered the apparition from before, no longer fragmented light, but whole, majestic. Its voice rang through every surface. "We are the Dwemer. We are the song eternal." Sadri raised his sword as the apparition descended. "No more riddles! You killed her! You—" The blade stopped mid-swing, caught by invisible force. The apparition turned its gaze toward him, and his body froze, suspended in a shimmer of brass light. His eyes widened, reflecting infinity, and then he was gone, dissolved into radiant dust. Talendren fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "You cannot take them all," he cried. "There must be something left of us, of you." The light enveloped him, gentle as a dying sun. "There is only remembrance," it whispered, "only the echo that endures." The scholar felt his mind unfold, his thoughts scattering like embers in the wind. He saw the Dwemer as they truly were, beings of tone and resonance, seeking to bind their souls into the fabric of the world. In their final experiment, they had succeeded too well. They had become the world's song woven into every note of its creation. When the light faded, the ruin fell silent once more. The molten rivers cooled, the gears ceased, and the air grew still. Only dust and echoes remained. Weeks later, Reach miners uncovered the entrance again, drawn by the tremors. Inside, they found no bodies, only a faint hum deep beneath the floor, steady and calm. Those who lingered claimed they could hear voices within the metal, whispering in tones too pure for mortal speech. They sealed the gate soon after, and so the legend passed into rumor, and the name uncharted returned to the maps as a ruin best left untouched. Yet on cold nights when the wind crosses the Velothi peaks, one might hear it still, a low, sorrowful harmony rising from the deep, the song of the Dwemer, the brass requiem.